To begin day 3, we would like to start with inviting Dr. David Passing, a techno-futurist from Israel, to present with us his note on the future of technology.
Well, meanwhile, my slides are uploaded. I'll take a second to just explain what futures thinking is. It's actually a branch of another scientific discipline which is called systems thinking. We are just trying to understand if there is logic, how systems are evolving, in order, of course, to understand the trajectories of those systems. So what I would like to do in my very short presentation is to give you a sense of how we predict the future of technologies, and most specifically, how we are able to understand the driving forces behind those trajectories. So if I am to really give you a very brief overview of the pattern that drives human beings to develop technologies, I would say the following. We as a species, we do not accept our physical constraints as a given. And we are already for millennia trying to enlarge those capabilities. Okay? We do not accept that our feet can walk or run in a certain pace, so we are developing or inventing, okay, wheels. And we do not accept the force or the impact of our fist, and we are developing tools with which we are enhancing our abilities. And that way, if you wish, you can go until in the 20th century, we have even developed wings, which we don't have. And we have, of course, traded with those wings, and we have conducted wars with those wings, etc., etc. In the 20th century, we also developed or enhanced our cognitive abilities, our abilities to remember a lot of information, our abilities to analyze information in fractions of seconds. And we are at the stage in which we are trying to enhance our intelligence. This is what we call AI. It will take some time until we will really mimic our intellectual abilities with our tools. And I believe that in each stage, there were a lot of fears that came with those abilities and capabilities we have developed. I'm just trying to think how people were afraid from chariots and conducting wars with chariots, and then conducting wars, of course, with nuclear power. Everything we have been doing in our evolution was coming from that driving force that we do not accept our physical existence as it is. Now, if this pattern is true, okay, and probably there are different other patterns how we have evolved. A lot of people are speaking about different kinds of patterns. Then we can try and extrapolate this pattern, okay? And if I am to say something about AI, let me just be very frank with you. I don't think that what really makes us a species, such a smart species, is not our intellectual abilities. There are other animals that are much more probably intelligent. They are able to communicate in different ways that we can't even communicate, just as an example. What really makes us so unique is what we call our consciousness. And we are at the verge of starting replicating our consciousness into our tools. And that will change everything. It's not AI. AI is just another step in a very long journey that we have done for millennia to enhance our physical and cognitive abilities. Now, the domain of consciousness is a very new domain, scientific domain. Many people were afraid to touch that issue in sciences until mind technologies and brain endeavors started really being in the mainstream of science. Then we have started to look at how exactly it is different, how exactly it is developing, what are the stages in which our consciousness is developing in our life cycle. So if I have made this very brief overview of the pattern in which we are developing, what I would like to try and do is what we call an extrapolation of that pattern. Since I don't have a lot of time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an experiment, if you wish, a thought experiment, just to make sense what we are going to go through in the next decade or two. Not much more than that. So what I would like to really briefly try and explain, it's exactly the opposite. Okay. I'm going to illustrate an idea through a conversation between two people. Okay? Now, this is, I wish I was Einstein, but still. So I'm going to have a very short discussion between these two people. A very nice lady called the technium, and I'm going to explain what it is, and me, if you wish. Okay? So, I'm asking that nice lady, you were given a very bizarre name. What is it? The technium. What's behind it? And she responds, well, Kevin Kelly gave me that name. And he wrote a lot of books about the philosophy behind the way humanity is developing technologies. And what he says in one of his books is that technology already has achieved a stage in which it can be defined as a living superorganism. Now, he doesn't exactly explain what does it mean, how it's going to develop, but he defines what a superorganism is. And what he says is that if you see how technology has been developing for the last millennia up to now, then it fits the definition. And very briefly, the definition of a superorganism is the following. Okay? So, a superorganism is a collection of agents that can act all together in concert to produce a phenomena that is greater, governed by the collective. Okay, we are all familiar with superorganisms. By the way, it's very hard to define a superorganism, a living superorganism. There are some scientists that even say that we as a species, as a collective, we barely scratch, as a collective, the definition of a superorganism, even though there are other people that are saying that even one person is a superorganism, if you take into account all the mechanisms that are working all together to develop and bring into action our activity, our way of thinking, etc., etc. So she says, I am actually that collective superorganism that has developed through the millennia, and now it is being called our technology. All right. By the way, if you wish, just think about just a car. Okay? There are some cars nowadays that have something between 20,000 to 35,000 pieces together. Now, all those pieces are working in a concert so that we are able to, to drive from one place to place with very comfortable, ecosystem inside, listening to music, discussing with our family, etc. And all together, there are a kind of a technium. It's an entity, actually, what Kevin Kelly is saying, that we have been building entities that really parallel the definition of superorganism. Now, if you wish, think about even a street in our cities. There are so many pieces of technologies together are working so that each one of us can walk, can drink, can eat, can communicate with everybody in the world, can buy whatever she wants, can order things to come. All together, all those pieces of technologies are a kind of a living entity. If you wish, if God forbid something happens to humanity, that street will continue living by itself until there won't be any more energy. And probably in the future, energy will continue, generating itself through different autonomous things. So, like any species, we are also a superorganism, if you wish, and we need constant energy in order to continue. But still, if there is no energy, there's no food, we can somehow go for another probably 30, 40 days. That's exactly what happens actually nowadays with all our technologies all over the world. Okay? Hold on. So, oh yeah, he says, well, a living superorganism, that's far-fetched. Okay? In order really to be a superorganism, a living one, you have to have homeostasis, you have to have the power of scaling. These are part of the very important definition of what a superorganism is. And then she responds, well, these qualities are the optimum, you're right, but still there is a hierarchy. And if you go and see the hierarchy of any superorganism, it starts with, a lot of agents, and we are already manufacturing a lot of technologies. And then those kind of agents starts to be autonomous. So I'm just at the very, start, the very initial stage of being or achieving that level of a living superorganism. Of course, after being autonomous, you have to be a little bit smart, and then you have the ability to be conscious about yourself, about what you are. Okay, what really makes humanity so unique, as I have mentioned, is that when we know something, we know that we know. When we don't know something, we know that we don't know. When we know something, we know how valid our knowledge is. This is the most amazing achievement of our species. And now it is, part of a buzzword which is called consciousness. So that nice lady, the technium, is saying, well, I'm in the journey to achieve that ability to be conscious. I'm just at the beginning. I'm about to be very autonomous. We are all familiar with that level. And then he says, oh, well, hold on. There are not just 4 stages of being a super organism. There are a lot of stages. Okay? The most important stage is to be sentience, to feel our surrounding. You are very far from there, so don't say you are already a superorganism. And then she says, well, you're right. I'm just kidding. I'm just a myth. Okay? And if I am to explain what a myth is, she says to him, well, I'm following a very known French philosopher that defined what a myth is. And what he said is the following: a myth is a construct that bridges nature and culture, which means that through our myth, we are interacting with our surroundings. We are understanding what happens in our surrounding. And we continue to develop our surroundings with our myth, or mythologies, if you wish. So she says, I'm just a myth. You're right. But this is a tool with which we can continue to develop our technologies. Okay, so you're a tool, you say. Okay, so fine. Well, take a look, she says, the Greeks also developed myth, okay, and just trying to understand the universe with some battles that are going on somewhere in the sky. Nobody really thought there are people over there, battling our love. But with those kind of myths, we are trying to understand, to organize our surrounding in order to beautify it, in order to continue and develop it, and in order to organize ourselves. Of course, for some people, the most known myth is God. And I believe everybody will agree that without that idea of God, that myth of God, we will not be able to define what morality is, what charity is, what meaning of life is, at least to some people. So what she says is the following then. So by adopting the myth of technology being a superorganism, we actually, can generate new ideas about what kind of technologies we can develop. And she says, yes, that's exactly the point. Now, I'm stressing this point because this is a thought experiment with which we can innovate in different ways. Innovate technologies, if we are just, to reverse our perspective. Until now, humanity was acting on its surrounding and, imposing our thoughts, our understanding, our imagination on our tools. Just with this very simple exercise, if you wish, just by reversing the perspective, we can understand the next level, the next phase of our evolution as a species. Because the most important thing, as I said, that we are about to start understanding, at least, is our ability to be conscious. And what is it exactly? And where is it exactly? And can we develop it further? When is it starting, etc.? Can we shut it down? All right? So, I hope you understood, okay, the technology can take a higher form. Now, with this thought experiment, we can, go out of the linear trajectory that I was trying to explain at the beginning of my talk here, because we are about to go to a different level of evolution. Our consciousness is not a physical thing. Our cognitive abilities, yes, okay? At least as far as we understand it, it's something different. So in order really to go out of our abilities to imagine how we can further develop technologies and how they can, like chariots that have affected and had the great impact on battle doctrines and strategies. Everything we have developed had a parallel in developing positive things and also in conducting wars. So let me give you just an example. All right? So he says, could you please give me an example? And she says the following. We are all familiar with IoTs. But here she says, if we are to think about technology as a living organism or superorganism, then like any superorganism, like humans, at the beginning we were, individuals. And then we organized ourselves by groups. And those groups became tribes, and those tribes cities, and those cities nations, and now global blocks of nations. The same thing, just think about Internet of Things, things that are merging together to form a society of themselves in order to take care first of all of themselves, because they are a living organism, take care of themselves, and of course interact with humans in order to beautify the surrounding altogether. Okay, so he says to her, can you please demonstrate what you are speaking about? And I'm going to show you a very interesting video clip that was developed by Ericsson, trying to demonstrate how our things are merging together. Like we have merged after World War II. After World War II, in order to take care of the complexity of our existence, we developed that mindset of being integrated together. And we have developed, platforms of trade, world trade organizations. We have developed a lot of infrastructures that demonstrate, reflect our integrated existence. But the more we go further in evolution, the more complexity is becoming very, very complex. And there are always, at a certain stage, complexity becomes very turbulent for our mind, at least. And in order to continue evolution, we have to continue evolving and upgrading our abilities, our mind abilities, in order to understand a little bit better our surrounding, in order to take care of the complexity. We are at the same stage of evolution with AI, by the way. AI is another attempt to take care of the huge complexity of life as we are living it at the moment. But as I said, this is not the most important issue. The most important issue is, of course, our consciousness, and our things has started that evolution stage of first being together, grouping together in order to develop. Should I stop? 2 minutes. Terrific. I'm about to finish. So let's see the film. It's a beautiful film in which you'll see how things are interacting together in order to achieve a sociability. And that sociability at the end brings them together to be aware of their surrounding and even attract the attention of their owner. A little bit volume, please. Okay, but you will understand it by yourself. He's taking care of his things at home before going home after work. Is there sound? No sound? All right, no sound. I think you can understand. Look, he's trying to ask his house to, turn on a lot of things since he's about to come home. So things are, are turning on. This is IoT, a simple IoT. In a moment, you're going to see a social IoT, the paradigm of sociability. Take a look here, okay? The carpet needs some vacuuming, so the vacuum starts. And take a look at this. It starts working, and it goes to the carpet. Meanwhile, the washing machine is working, and take a look. The sofa says, I need also vacuuming, okay? The ability to communicate with each other, things that was not put in an algorithm. This is what we call sociability. Okay, here is going home, but it's very rainy, and his girlfriend says that she's not coming, and he will say to his things in his home to shut down. But what I would like you to pay attention is the following, which is very important. He comes home, and he sits and eat, and he starts watching a soccer game, and then his girlfriend calls back and says, well, maybe I'll come and be with you tonight. And the TV will attract his attention so that he will say to his girlfriend, no, I don't come, okay? So that kind of sociability with our things is a way to continue develop our technology so that it will reach a higher level than AI. In order to understand better our surrounding, in order to manage the complexity of our surrounding. Well, I think it's enough because we don't have time. What I would like to show you, there are already a lot of companies worldwide that are developing this paradigm. Myself, I have a startup company it's called Thing That Think, okay? And the idea, if I am to explain it in a very short sentence, we are trying to develop a kind of a WhatsApp on which things will share ideas. We'll say to each other, how are you today? Do you have something for me? Like any social interaction, there is no an algorithm. When we speak with each other, nobody has developed an algorithm how to speak with each other. We are kind of bubbling.
Dr. David.
And this is how we continue. I'm done. Okay? Thank you very much.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And that was a very insightful talk. I'll just request Dr. David Passage. Come ahead. Yeah, Tarini, please come up.